The very first word revealed in the Qur'an was Iqra, which means read. So why do many of us go a whole year and finish maybe just a couple of books? Here's the thing, it's not because you're too busy or not smart enough. It's because nobody ever actually taught you how to read more. I've got 10 things that took me from reading hardly any books to finishing dozens of books. And these things really helped me kind of read so much more and learn a lot more. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Iqbal. On this channel, I look at how we can build strategies to lead a life we can love as Muslims. Okay, rule number 1, and this is a big one, read what you love until you love to read. Now this is a tip taken from Naval Ravikant, and most of us fail at reading for one silly reason. We pick up the book that we think we should read, some heavy sort of 500-page classic, and we grind through like maybe 1 or 2 pages a night, and eventually we just kind of stop. You know, that's not the best way to kind of get into a reading habit. And then we kind of conclude that, you know what, I'm just not a reader. But I remember when we were younger, as like someone from Bangladesh, like, you know, we love fish, and you don't start with a really bony fish. You start off with the easy fish, which is like iron mass, and then you kind of get onto the more complicated fish. So yeah, reading books is about starting really simple, a bit like the fish, and then kind of working your way up and getting to that habit of reading. So here's what to do instead when it comes to books. Find page turners, books that are so good you can't put them down, books that you would like, you know, stay up extra late to read. Now the book that I definitely love is called David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. Absolutely love this book. It's about this guy and how he sort of transformed his life. He's like massive all over the internet, but honestly I love this book. I've read it twice and I plan to kind of read it at least once every year. Another book I'm reading right now is this one by James Dyson. He's the one that made The Hoovers, but this is his actual original sort of autobiography when he was really kind of grinding. And this one's not available on Kindle, it's not available, it's not been published yet, but I heard about this through some podcasts from David Senra, and yeah, I just thought, oh my god, immediately I just wanted to read that book. And yeah, I just managed to sort of find kind of old copy on Amazon. So yeah, go with that impulse. If there's something that you just really want to read, and honestly it has been like a page turner so far, so yeah, fantastic. This is another great book, excellent advice for the living. And this book is just full of like really great quotes by Kevin Kelly, who's like big in Silicon Valley and really kind of, you know, he's done a lot of stuff. But yeah, fantastic book and kind of has some really useful stuff. And yeah, definitely recommend it. Quite easy book to kind of get into, and yeah, just love it. Love the whole design of it. This one you actually can't buy it on Kindle or digital version, so that's why it's really nice to get this paper version. But also as Muslims, there are some fantastic books about Islam as well, but find books that are easy to read, that you're going to want to read. One that I definitely recommend everyone to look at is by Karen Armstrong. She's not a Muslim herself, but she's written some fantastic books about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and a few other sort of books about Islam and stuff like that, which are really easy to read and get into. And you know, she really does it in a really good, positive way. Another book I would recommend is this one called Revelation. So this is about the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his life story. But what I'm still reading, so what I love about this is like it's very graphical. As you can see, it's got family trees. This was the whole thing about this, to make it more graphical and more kind of easier to understand and use it as a sort of reference, all the different things that are going on. And right at the back, it's got all the different companions and people that were involved during the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So yeah, finding books that are engaging, easy to read, maybe visual, graphical, with that sort of stuff is like amazing. If you look at books that have been turned into films, I mean, usually the film is nowhere near as good as the book. Apart from there was one film, Shawshank Redemption, which was actually based on a book, but the film is actually better than the book. But most of the time, there's some amazing books out there. And reading is just a skill. And just like any skill, you just get better with more reps. And the more I read, and the more I feel like reading. You know, nobody starts at the gym by deadlifting 200 kilos. And you start light, you build the habit, and when you're ready, you just kind of build it up. And the goal isn't to look clever, it's to fall in love with reading again. And honestly, there is a book out there that you would just love. So read what's fun first and then build that muscle, build that reading muscle. And the way to do that is just by doing more reps and finding books that you will really enjoy reading. Rule number 2 is the pillow rule, and this is really simple and kind of really changed my nights. It's basically just have a book or a Kindle or something by your bedside and read that instead of going through your phone. I mean, there's been so many times where I've just been like, oh, let me just see that one extra thing on Instagram or that one extra video on YouTube, and before I know it, it's like 2, 3, 4 o'clock. So swap it, put a book or a Kindle near your bed. Another good tip is keep your phone away from your bedside. So yeah, so it's harder and there's a bit more friction to get to it. It's a small change, but it's a big shift. Just having that book closer and easy to reach is a great way of designing your environment, which is something that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. And also I recommend getting like a fiction book, something that your mind can just switch off, and you know, not some sort of business book or something like that. Otherwise you're kind of like, you know, I'm always thinking about taking notes and stuff like that. So yeah, at the moment I'm reading Red Rising, which is like a really good sort of science fiction type book. So yeah, definitely recommend people doing that. Now, rule 3 is audiobooks, and yeah, I need to drop the guilt on this one. Some people think listening to a book is cheating. It's not. Here is why audiobooks are magic. Reading a physical book at the end of the day takes a lot of energy. You know, you must be tired from work and all that sort of stuff, and the brain is fried, and you know, got the kids, got like the family, got everything to deal with. And listening is just something you can do when you don't have that energy. You know, you could be lying on the sofa, eyes closed, and you know, still get through a really good book. And it lowers that barrier for when you're like, yeah, I'm just too tired to read, and like, it kind of stops that from being an excuse. So download an app like Audible, grab an audiobook, and yeah, you know, try a few books out. And when you find a good book, honestly, like, you don't want to stop listening. And you know, a book you listen to still counts. It all counts. And another good thing about a audiobook is like you can kind of really skim through a lot of it. You can put it on double speed, free speed. And you know, sometimes there's boring bits, and it's kind of a good way just to kind of get through that. There's a book at the moment that I'm listening to, which is Charlie Munger, who worked with Warren Buffett. He's got this book called Poor Charlie's Almanac, and it's a really, really long book. There's some bits of it that are like quite boring, but there's some amazing bits in it as well. So I'm just kind of going through it, and having the audiobook in there, I just kind of like vaguely kind of engage. But when there's something really interesting, then my mind kind of really kicks in. Rule number 4 is make it easy. Now, if you have a Kindle or, you know, something similar, or app on your phone, one of the best things I ever did was make the font big. This sounds trivial, but it's not. Okay, I'm reading this book at the moment, Red Rising. As you can see, the font is quite big, and it just kind of makes it really easy to read. I don't get lost on which line I'm in. This is something like my brother showed me actually, and I thought, what is he doing? This is like ridiculous, it's way too big. But honestly, it's really good, and I can flick the pages really easily, and you know, I can just read through the lines. I don't get lost. And also when I come back to the book, say the following day, it's quite easy to find which line I was on. And honestly, it's made my reading so much faster. Like if you compare that to the James Dyson book, you know, there's a lot more words on the page, so it's kind of a bit more, and the font is a bit smaller, so it kind of slows down your reading a bit. Essentially, like a bigger font means fewer words per page, would mean that you turn the pages faster. Every page turn gives you that bit of progress. You know, you're moving, you're making some progress, you're getting somewhere. And that momentum keeps you winning, just small win after small win after small win. And another thing I would recommend is just kind of moving your social media apps away from your homepage and just putting them into a different page within your app. And yeah, this is a great tip I saw Ali Abdaal talk about. And it just kind of, we have that muscle memory within our thumbs. We just want to like quickly go to the social media app, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be. Yeah, you just like, I do that all the time impulsively. I would just like quickly just open up Facebook, quickly just open up Instagram. And instead what you can do is just put your Kindle app on your iPhone and Android phone, and then use that instead. And that way you can build up that habit of automatically just opening that up instead when you're bored, rather than like Instagram or one of your social media apps. So make the good thing easy to reach and the bad thing much annoying and hard to find. Rule 5 is the multitasking rule. This is where audiobooks become a superpower. The trick is to stack a book into something that you're already doing. And this is something James Clear talks about called habit stacking. And one of the best ways to do this is when you're driving or you're traveling, you just have an audiobook in the background playing, and it's a great way to go through a book. It's actually made my car journeys much more enjoyable, especially if I've got a good book going on and I'm listening to that and I've got a really long car journey. I don't mind, sometimes even look forward to it. However, I would say don't multitask a book with anything that needs real focus. So, you know, if I'm working or, you know, I've got some coding, I'm a software engineer, if I need to do some software and stuff like that, then yeah, I would kind of not have a book or something like that running in the background. But for those moments where you're driving or washing the dishes or anything like that, yeah, just stick on an audiobook. Rule 6, read multiple books at once. I know this feels wrong. You know, your parents probably taught you finish one thing before you start another, and that is noble advice. But however, for books, there is a better way. Because just reading one book can sometimes hold you back, and having a few books on the go is really good. So, you know, when I've got high energy and then I want to make notes and stuff like that, then reading James Dyson's book, Against the Odds, is fantastic. I could go through it, I can make notes and stuff like that. However, when I have low energy, late at night, at bedtime, then I read like a fiction book like Red Rising, or, you know, another book that I love is Ready Player One. Absolutely love that book. And honestly, if you saw the film is nowhere near as good as the book. The whole idea is that you read based on your energy, not on some sort of rule. If you're tired and low, pick up an easy book to read. If you're really sharp and focused, get to the meaty non-fiction book. If there's a book that, you just really want to read, for example, this James Dyson book, then, it doesn't matter if I'm low energy, late at night, whatever, I can read this book at any time. So rule 7, this is just to give yourself permission to abandon a book. This might be one of the most freeing things I can say. You do not have to finish every book that you start. Life generally is too short to force your way through a book you're not enjoying. So let me give you some real examples from my own sort of book reading. I heard about the books by Brandon Sanderson, which are like sort of fantasy sort of books. But yeah, it just wasn't really my sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff going on and I wasn't kind of really feeling it. But then I heard about Red Rising and yeah, that was really good and kind of just got into that straight away. And yeah, that was fine. And even though I knew the Brandon Sanderson books had like really good reviews, that book was just, yeah, Red Rising, I was able to get into it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I kind of just abandoned that and got into something that I really wanted to read. Another example of this, like my wife, she liked the Hobbit films, Lord of the Rings, all of that sort of stuff, and she tried reading the Hobbit, and it's like one of those books everyone sort of talks about reading, but yeah, she just didn't enjoy it. It got into so much detail and stuff, and she kind of left it and moved on to something else. So yeah, don't feel like you have to do anything. In terms of business books, there was a business book already, Fire Aim, which I wasn't like a big fan of, but I know a lot of other people love it. But what I want people to think about is you're allowed to quit a book. There's so many books out there, and the book you abandon isn't a failure. It's respecting your own time. Rule 8, learn to read or listen faster. Start with audiobooks because this is like an easy win. Just slowly bump the speed up. You could go up to 1.5 and then 2. You can even do 2.5 as well. Usually I kind of stay around the 2 mark. And when you first start doing it, it sounds like chipmunks. You don't understand what's going on, and then your brain sort of adjusts completely. And your listening speed is a muscle as well. You kind of train it and it grows. And once you're comfortable at 2x speed, you're going through so many more books. And speed has a hidden benefit. It kind of carries you through the boring bits. I'm listening to Charlie Munger's book, Poor Charlie's Almanac, and that's like a long book and there's some boring bits in that. And I kind of have it on 2x speed. I kind of speed through those bits. And almost every book has like a slow patch in the middle where the author is just kind of sort of repeating themselves somewhat. But speeding up glides you over that dip, so you don't give up right before the kind of good part. And look, there's no nobility in reading slowly, like, oh yes, I'm the person that can read books very slowly. Nobody's giving you out medals for reading a book over 6 months or 1 year. The point isn't to look scholarly and slow. The point is to absorb ideas and enjoy them. So speed up, get through more, and read in a way that actually serves you. Rule 9 is the impulse spiral. And this one goes against everything you've been taught about money. Whenever someone you respect recommends a book and that book resonates with you, just buy it right then on the spot. Don't add it to your wish list so you never look at it again. Just get it. Here's the logic. It's genuinely life-saving. For the cost of £5, £10, $10, you could get some real amazing golden nuggets. To give you some examples of that, there's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality by Wilka Dara, and it's about running the world's #1 restaurants. Amazing book. Like one example I would talk about is how make a reservation like months in advance, and then when you turn up at the restaurant, they will kind of greet you by name. And you're like, what? How do they do that? But what they do is they'll look you up online, they'll find details about you, and they'll have like a photo of you within their kind of reservation list. And that's just one of many things they do. Like just how they manage everything in the floor so you don't realize. And when it comes to paying your bill, they'll give you your bill with a drink or something like that and just let you take your time. That's like one of the awkward bits of doing a bill. But yeah, honestly, if you love restaurants and stuff like that, this book is amazing. But also a lot of stuff can be applied elsewhere as well. And also, like I said, this book, the James Dyson book, which is, I just had to get it. So I just got it straight away. And even though I'm in the middle of reading some other books, I thought, no, I need to get this one. And I just had to start reading it straight away. Don't wait to finish another book as well if there's a book that you really want to read. If one single idea in that book changes how you live, work, or, pray, that's the best amount of money you would ever spend. One good book can shift your entire year, your entire mindset, and just make such a big difference. Compare that to how we happily waste money without even like blinking on things. I'll easily spend like 30, 40, 50 pounds on dinner without even blinking and realizing what I was doing. And rule 10, and honestly, this ties everything together, build evidence that you are a reader. Every time you finish a book, or even just a chapter, you're casting a tiny vote. And this idea comes from James Clear again, Atomic Habits. And it's just about building evidence that you can do that thing. And it's about changing your identity to someone who can read. As you can see here, just like keep recording every single book that you're reading, and then you will start to get that mindset that I am a reader. You know, at first you're faking it, maybe just read one book and you feel a bit like a fraud, but do it again, and that evidence starts to pile up. You know, just keep a simple list of every book that you've read. That's all you have to do. And then reading just becomes who you are, you know, just like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, changing your clothes, and that's the whole game. But the thing that matters the most is that the whole point of reading isn't just to rack up a number. It's not about finishing 52 books so you could post a total online. The point is to enjoy the book in your hands and to learn something that changes you. Seeking knowledge has always been central to who we are. So don't turn reading into another thing that you grind through just to impress people. 10 books that you've loved reading, that you've taken something from, is much better than reading like 1,000 books just to rack up a number. If you've got any benefit for this video, please smash the like button and leave a comment if you're reading anything, because I love to get good book recommendations, and I'll see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.